Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of The Grandstand here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, AR the Ohio Patriot. And for today's episode, we're going to talk about how the left is continuing to slander Kyle Rittenhouse to this day. Specifically, there is Rittenhouse's name was trending again today because I guess people were discussing the Kansas City parade shooters, which are two obviously black males, is what it is there. Actually, it was technically three black males that got into it, but it was two underage teens specifically that were the ones that were arrested for the actual shooting up the place, is what it was there. And yet, being underage, the media won't give out their names. Yet they had no problem giving out and slandering Kyle Rittenhouse or Nick Sandman or any of these other guys like that were white guys when shit like that went down with them, whether it be Rittenhouse's self-defense shooting in Kenosha, whether it be Nick Sandman's whole thing against that fucking ass clown dude who basically went up to his face and started beating a drum inside of his face, is what it was there at the steps of it was like a monument there in Washington, D.C. a couple years back now. But yeah, it's just disgusting stuff is what it is. And the entire point of the matter is you basically had these idiot fucking leftist people who were trying to shit talk Rittenhouse again because he basically came out and was like, oh yeah, why was I basically, it was kind of like, I don't know if Kyle's like just not that intelligent, honestly, which I think in some cases it might be the case, honestly, to where he doesn't understand the racial narrative thing of a mainstream media at this point or what it is, but at the same time, that's obviously what it was, dude. It's it's a racial division thing is what it is, dude. That's why they released your name and won't release these guys' names, because your name as a white man who defended himself against a bunch of terrorist leftists in Kenosha, Wisconsin 4 years ago, a bunch of BLM and Antifa fucking pieces of shit is what it was there, dude. You, sir, are 100% a known entity because the mainstream media wants to push that racial narrative of, oh, this was a mass shooting by some white guy, even though it doesn't actually qualify for that at all, for the matter. Neither does Kansas City, by the way, which people are falsely claiming they're both mass shootings and stuff like that, even though neither one of them actually was. Rittenhouse was 100% a self-defense shooting against a bunch of BLM and Antifa terrorists. The Kansas City parade shooting was a bunch of gangbangers trying to have a gang warfare or something like that out there, is what it was, against each other. And because these fucking teenagers don't give because these literal fucking minority teenagers don't give a shit about, actual human life is what it is, they'll just sit there and go on fucking, killing sprees, essentially, is what it is, to kill each other. It doesn't matter if there's 50 fucking bystanders in the way or not. When they're trying to shoot and kill each other, they'll just randomly shoot these people down, is what it is then. And that's what pretty much Kansas City was, dude. It was a bunch of fucking ass clown morons. It was the Boondocks called an N-word moment at that point, I believe is what it actually technically qualifies as. And yeah, it's just a bunch of bullshit in general. And the entire point of the matter is you have specifically this old supposed military vet guy. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up Discord here for a minute to show this guy's idiotic face is what it is. So you got this fucking jerk off right here that claimed Kyle Rittenhouse goes broke. Mega destroys more lives just to promote their own narratives. Yet this fucking guy is, when you look at this guy's Twitter profile, dude, he's literally fucking jerking off Joe Biden and Kamala Harris 2024 is what it is. He's just some leftist fucking turd burglar is what it is, actually. And of course, in the first minute of that video, which I stopped watching after that, basically, because he started slandering and lying about Kyle's what it was. Continuing the left's false narrative that Kyle's mom drove him to Kenosha that night, which is complete fucking lies, what it is, dude. It was actually his friend Dominic Black, who was dating Kyle Rittenhouse's one sister at the time, who actually drove Kyle to the actual downtown Kenosha area there. And the only reason that Dominic Black was driving the vehicle that night with Kyle as riding passenger seat there is because it was some friends of Dominic Black who specifically called him up and was like, hey, dude, these guys that own these car dealerships want us to help them out tonight and protect the fucking businesses armed. Y'all want to come out and help us? And he's like, yeah. And said some shit to Kyle and stuff like that. He's like, hey, you want to go with me? And Kyle's like, yeah. And that's basically how Kyle Rittenhouse ended up there, dude, is what it was. He never crossed state lines with a firearm because that gun that he had was purchased by Dominic Black, by the way, and never left the state of Wisconsin, never left the city area of Kenosha is what it was there after it was purchased. And Kyle's mom never drove him there because he was hanging out with his buddy Dominic Black, who, like I said, was fucking his sister at the time. And that's the entire point, man. Now, granted, when Dominic Black actually took the stand in Kyle Rittenhouse's case there, 3 years and some change ago is what it was now, because it was like 2021 when Kyle was actually put on trial. There's what it was. Dom was cut a plea deal, and I think he was cut a plea deal to not actually catch federal charges for straw purchasing, because technically, if you look at the definition of a straw purchase, he could have probably caught time for that, and so could Kyle have, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, neither one of them ever was tried for that, though. But that's besides the point. Should they have been? Maybe. It all depends on how you look at it, really. The question is probably, honestly, like the answer to that question is probably. They probably should have both been tried for it then. But, neither one was, obviously. And I think it's really because they realized, like, oh, yeah, we already put this kid through so much hell or whatever, like, why, fuck with his life some more is what it is then kind of thing. Because then it would just make the government look like complete assholes what it is then, which we already know they are at this point, honestly. So, might as well just go for Brooke, man. And the thing is, if they really wanted to bring Kyle up on charges, like, they could just do it at any time if they really wanted to or something like that, dude. But I think they figured, like, oh, no, he's not really, like, he's like small potatoes now, or whatever the case be. He's kind of irrelevant now is what it is then. So, but, yeah, needless to say, though, it's a whole thing. And the whole point I'm trying to make is, though, is like Kyle's mom never even drove him there that night at all, dude. She never had anything to do with him being in Kenosha at all, for that matter. And yet you have these leftists that will continue to slander and lie and just make up false shit about him and stuff like that continuously, because they themselves are a bunch of lying fucking pricks is what it is, dude. Because just like that fucking guy there, that supposed military vet guy there, he's trying to push his own fucking bullshit narrative, which is an anti-Trump, anti-Rittenhouse narrative is what it is, dude. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I'm getting real fucking sick and tired of all that shit from these people, dude. It's like, we all know you're a bunch of goddamn liars, dude. Go fuck yourself. You're slandering, you're literally slandering a fucking teenage kid, for that matter, for God's sakes, dude. Well, I guess technically he's in his 20s now, but still, it's like, yeah, you're slandering a guy who at the time was underage, and then have continued to, like, slander this man for, like, years of his life for no reason at all, and you just want to be a fucking old prick is what it is. And that's exactly why I really do hate the, like, I'm a military vet narrative when people try to run for office and stuff, dude, because almost every single time, like, bar none, all the times that I've seen people do that shit, dude, it's almost always the same exact people that will run on that platform, and then almost immediately after that will be one of the biggest pieces of shit, oath-breaking scumbags in our country after the fact. Like, almost always. It almost comes out the exact same way almost every single time. Where it's them just being complete sacks of shit, them being the biggest scumbag traitors in this country, honestly, is what it is. And the only reason they're running under that I'm a military vet platform thing is because they know for a fact that when they do that stuff, what you end up having is you have a situation where they are trying to get one over on people is what it is. They're trying to pull on people's heartstrings to be like, oh, well, the guy was military. Like, he probably should know something about, defending the Constitution, et cetera, et cetera. Even though most of the time they don't is what it is. And that's the saddest part of all, right? Like, you would think they would know that stuff, right? But they don't. They don't know a damn thing, dude. They don't know fuck all. It does not matter to them if they're going to lie about people or not. And it's just disgusting is what it is, man. It really is. It sickens me is what it does, dude. Because I continue to see this shit day after day, week after week, month after month with these fucking pieces of shit, dude. And like I said, I'm just fucking sick of it. I'm just frankly sick and tired of it. Because it's all just a bunch of asshole liars, dude. It's a bunch of people that will never actually get ahead themselves is what it is in life. So they'll sit there and try to, like, basically pull everybody else down to their fucked up level, then is what it is. Instead of actually lifting everybody up is what it is then, dude. And that's exactly how we get into this fucking left-right narrative shit is what it is, dude. It's these people that, might actually have, like, something to provide to society or whatever the case be, but yet they just want to be a fucking piece of shit. And what's even worse about the old guy there, that old guy that came there, bet there's what it was, he's sitting there talking about grooming in that first minute of the 5-6 minute video, whatever it is he put up there, and yet doesn't actually admit that he himself, backing the Biden-Harris fucking cheater-ass pieces of shit, that he's literally backing child molesters, dude. That's who the left is, by the way. They back fucking pedophiles for office. And yet this motherfucker wants to talk about grooming and Kyle's mom grooming him for some bullshit or whatever the case be. And it's like, dude, I'll tell you what, if I was in Rittenhouse's shoes right now, I would be suing every single one of these social media platforms right now that allow videos on them to have people slander me. Because that's what needs to happen right now, dude. You need to have like he needs to put massive lawsuits against these companies, what it is there, and be like, hey, I'm going to start a fucking lawsuit train. Like, anybody that's trying to slander me on these sites, like, guess what, fuckers? You're on the list now is what it is. And I guarantee you're going to have a lot of people shut the fuck up about Rittenhouse then and stop fucking pushing false narratives about him the second he would start suing the shit out of people individually is what it is then, man. And even just like that guy, like another lie too, for that matter. In fact, that guy was saying like Rittenhouse is broke or whatever the case be. That's not the case at all, dude. Kyle might not have a ton of money, but as far as I'm aware, he currently has a book that he wrote and is making money off that right now. He also created a 2A organization here in the last few months is what it is now that is going to help people that have a similar situation to his own where they get fucked over and, basically have to then pay for, services and stuff like that's what it actually is then. So, yeah, he's doing okay as far as I'm aware right now. So, for people to sit there and lie about that is just absolute bullshit entirely, dude. So, yeah, it's a bunch of shit, dude. And like I said, it's really a bunch of BS entirely when you have these fucking people that, like, obviously don't give a damn about the truth or, anything else for that matter. And so they'll sit there and just spew lies about people, whether it be Rittenhouse, whether it be Nick Sandmann, whether it be anybody that the fucking mainstream media has it out for is what it is, dude. And again, like the one biggest problem I have with Rittenhouse myself entirely is the fact he didn't go in a lawsuit train as soon as he was acquitted of all charges. There is what it was. Because like the next day or a couple days later, there should have been immediate lawsuits against every single mainstream media outlet from ABC to NBC to CBS, etc. It all slandered his ass. Should have hit fucking CNN. Should have hit fucking Fox News. I guess, I don't know. Did Fox News ever just slander him now? I think about it. I know that, who was it now? No, MSNBC. That's what one thing over now. Yeah, MSNBC, CNN, all those ones like that, dude. All the left-wing turds, basically. They should have all gotten the fucking, boot on the neck, basically, is what it is there, from Rittenhouse. And, yeah, they should have all gotten basically sent to fucking, bankruptcy court is what it is at the end of the day. So, anyway, but yeah, needless to say, it's a bunch of crap entirely, dude. Now, like I said, I'm personally sick and tired of all of it, dude. Like, you have these people that will just straight up lie to push their own agendas is what it is. And specifically in the case of that piece of crap with dude there, he's basically just pushing that agenda against Rittenhouse is what it is there, dude. Where he knows damn well what he's saying is an absolute lie. He knows he's pushing false narratives against Kyle. And yet he's allowed to basically say that shit on these social media sites and not be, and truthfully, if I'm not mistaken, I think actually Twitter/X's terms of service thing, that guy's violating the terms of service, dude, because he's straight up committing like lies and slander against people is what it is there. So, like, I'm pretty sure that's actually a ban-worthy fucking thing right now. But anyway, it's a bunch of shit either way, dude. And like I said, I'm personally just sick of it all. Because you have these fucking people that will just, like, sit there and they'll shit talk people and they'll fucking, push all these bullshit-ass narratives is what it is to fuel their own agendas. And in that guy's case, the agenda is literally fucking, cucking out for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, two fucking child molester pieces of shit is what it is, dude. Well, technically, Kamala might not be an actual child molester, but she's definitely a child molesting enabler is what it is there, a pedophile enabler. Because obviously Biden is a child molester, and we know that for a fact many, many times over is what it is there. We can just look at the videos, of God's sakes, of Biden fucking, like, touching on kids and just creeping on kids and everything else like that, dude. And then not only that, but then also the fact you have, various other things that have come out in the last year or so about him and, creeping on his own children and stuff like that's what it is when they were kids, dude. So, yeah, just a sick piece of shit entirely, dude. Like, that's what I don't understand. Like, anybody that can fucking sit there and know all that information and, like, still back this motherfucker for anything, like, it just blows my mind, honestly, dude. But in the case of that, old ass dude who looks like he's in his 60s or 70s, which he might be a military vet, he might not be, honestly, dude. Like, given the guy's age there, he probably, my guess would be he probably was like young and potentially like either the last couple years of the Vietnam War, or he might have been like something in like the 80s or something like that or something. If he even is a military vet at all, for that matter, which, like I said, I'm not going to say he wasn't or he was, but you know, he goes by the vet moniker is what it is there, which, you know, most wouldn't do that, honestly, unless they actually were in the shit is what it is there. So, and, you know, I know when it comes to people that were actually in military service, I know G-Web's out there. We've had conversations before in the past about this whole thing when they sent out Guns Barbecue and those guys in back chats, because G-Web was just talking about his time in the military, actually, and he was actually in there in, I believe it was like the mid to late 90s, I believe was where his time period was there. I don't believe he was ever in Desert Storm or Desert Shield or anything like that. I think he got in like right after that is what it was. And then he was basically had done his like 4 or 5 years over it is there and got out like right before 9/11 popped off then. And then of course he, you know, made a deal with some dudes that he was in with a squad or whatever there, and they were all went in. I forget what it was technology wise, if it was like stocks or some kind of computer stuff with like Google or what it was there, but I know he made some money there is what it was though, somewhere in there. But anyway, yeah, pretty interesting story though. If you ever get a chance to talk to G-Webs, talk to him about that stuff because it is pretty interesting. And as far as I'm aware, like I said, I think he was just one of these guys that was like overseas someplace in like some random base or whatever then for the time or whatever there. I don't think he ever really saw any conflict or anything like that. Like he was just like some random, like the, I'm trying to think of the movie is now. The movie In the Army Now, when they're sitting on the military base there and they're like in their little tents and shit like that. I think it's a G-Web's career, honestly, which is like being in like a tent essentially. And like just like being like monitoring stuff is what it was there or whatever. So, which makes sense, you know, because that's what most of the military is, honestly, anymore, especially nowadays, dude. When you got like drones and stuff like that, like you basically have these. Hell, I could be a fucking drone operator right now if I were to qualify there. Where it's just some big fat guy here like me, and I'm just sitting there fucking controlling a drone and stuff like that. Is what it is there. So, not that I want to do that, obviously, because it's just, you know, not about that, dude. Not about that life. Not about that. Any of that shit is what it is, man. Not about giving up my life to fucking some fucked up government is what it is now. So, especially when that same shitty government's trying to give our everything away to illegals in this country and leave our border wide the fuck open for illegals is what it is there. Yeah, not okay, man. So anyway, but yeah, like I was saying though, it's very interesting though, like I said, to see this dude who I think honestly that old guy was trying to basically shit talk Trump, essentially is what it is. But because Rittenhouse was trending, he's decided to throw Kyle's name in there too, for that matter, to slander him as well, is what it was. Because the whole point of that guy's video, as far as I'm aware, from just watching, like I said, the first minute or so of it, was he was basically trying to shit talk Trump of like, oh, you know, Trump's never helped out anybody at all, for that matter. He just like uses them as like pawns and shit like that. It's like, dude, every fucking politician type does that shit, dude. With American citizens, you really think Biden gives a fuck about any? Hell, dude, piece of shit Joe Biden, over a fucking year later, just now came to East Palestine, Ohio, where we had that train derailment over a year ago now, dude, and then wants to sit there and fucking lie and be all like, we had boots on the ground within minutes. No, you fucking didn't, you piece of shit fucking pedophile scumbag fucking cunt. You literally sat there for fucking 6 months or more until you sent fuckface Pete Buttigieg to do his stupid ass little fucking spiel around the town for about 10 fucking minutes. He was rightfully called out by people like Serena Hernandez, who was there at the time, who was like, bro, why the fuck did it take you guys so long to get here? And then you literally had some bitch for fucking Pete's little regime of people. We're all like, oh, you can't talk to Mr. Buttigieg right now. It's like, the hell she can't, man. The dude's a fucking public figure, for God's sakes. He's supposed to be part of a fucking government, you know, administration that's here to supposedly help people. Like, answer the fucking questions. Why the hell did it take you so long to get there, asshole? Seriously. Fucking ridiculous, dude. The only reason, seriously, the only reason that Biden went to East Palestine at all, dude, is because he knows he's up for re-election. You know, an election he cheated his way back into office for, by the way. And what they're going to try to do again now is what it is. And he knows for a fact that if he's not there to do boots on the ground, that he's going to basically look like a giant asshole over a year later, which he already does, by the way. You had people outside basically holding signs the other day that were like, too little, too late, motherfucker. There was also a bunch of kids that they had holding signs that said, don't sniff me, which I thought was fucking hilarious, by the way. Like, that was probably the funniest thing I saw last week from Biden's visit to East Palestine. So, but yeah, the entire townspeople were like, no, fuck you, dude. And rightfully so, because he's a piece of crap in general, dude. The guy doesn't give a shit about anybody. He doesn't give a shit about American people. If he did, he wouldn't have cheated his way into fucking office. But of course, he did have to cheat his way into office because he wants to fucking sit there and make a bunch of fucking money off of random ass shady fucking deals like he did with Ukraine before this, dude, is what it was. So, yeah, it's just fucking disgusting is what it is, bro. So anyway, but yeah, needless to say, it's a bunch of shit, man. It's a bunch of shit all the way around. You have people who don't care, who will never care, who will always try to fuck us over no matter what. And, you know, you got these morons who will sit there and cuck for them. And it's like, bro, like, come on now. Like, seriously. It just blows me away, dude. It really does. Like, how anybody could sit there and, like, and then the worst fact of it is then you got the mainstream media out there trying to cover for Biden's ass now. And it's like, how can you honestly sit there with a straight face and lie and try to claim that this guy who obviously has dementia or Alzheimer's or some fucking cognitive decline like that and be like, oh no, he's perfectly fine and totally fit for office. It's like, no, he's not, dude. Like, he is fucked in the head a lot. And all it does is make America look like a fucking joke when you allow pieces of shit like that to remain in office, bro. Like, even if he won legitimately, he should have been 25th out of office at this point. Seriously. And then you got these fucking dickbags that'll sit there and be like, oh, but Rittenhouse this and Rittenhouse that. It's like, shut up, man. Seriously. Like, we're all sick and tired of it, bro. It's like, you can't say a thing about Kyle Rittenhouse. It's not a fucking lie at this point, leftists. Because every single thing that you fuckers say is a damn lie about the kid, man. Seriously, for real. Like, every single fucking thing that these assholes have ever said about Kyle Rittenhouse is a damn lie. It's always been a lie. It will always be a lie. Etc., etc., etc. Hell, even to sit there and try to falsely claim the shit was a mass shooting is a fucking slap in the face, dude, because it wasn't. Like, that's the entire point. Here's the facts of the case, by the way, with Kyle Rittenhouse's case, dude. We're gonna lay it out right now, actually. Start to fucking finish, dude. Timeline of events. You had, I believe it was, I want to say Kyle was the second night. Wait, second night or third night? Now I need to go back and look at the Kenosha riots now myself, because I'm trying to remember exactly what the day. I want to make sure I got exactly the night right, dude. Because I forget if it was on the second night or the first night then. So let me see here. Okay, let's see. August 24th. Okay, well, that's not giving me what I was looking for there, so let me look up Okay, let's see. What the day was this, though? Was it the 25th? Okay, it was the 25th of August. Okay, so yeah, so you had, up to that point, you already had like multiple days of rioting going on there in Kenosha, which, mind you, it was that morning, the day of the 25th, that Kyle was actually out there with some of his friends and just random people in the neighborhood and stuff like that who was cleaning up graffiti that afternoon is what it was. And then, like I said, it was that night at some point you had Dominic Black, who was Kyle's buddy and was dating Kyle's sister is what it was, having sex with the sister and, relationship there is what it is. Proceeded to basically get a call from his friends and they were like, hey man, like we're trying to come out here and, do some stuff over here, blah, blah, blah. Like, would you help us out kind of thing? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then that's when Kyle, joined him is what it was then. So, and that's the entire point, dude, is you have that time of events right there where it was Kyle was out there doing good for the community in the morning / afternoon, and then was hanging out with Dominic that night when the call was made to basically, hey, we need people out here to help protect this business is what it is then. And even that woman who was, I'm trying to remember what the old woman's name is there. She was older, I believe blonde woman, if I'm not mistaken. Because she's in some of the photos with Kyle. Actually, she was holding his gun that one time when he was giving that. By the way, that's another reason why Kyle went out there that night is because he actually had paramedic training, and he was going out there to help people that were getting fucked up by both the cops and, in general, the fucking BLM Antifa terrorists that were out there that night breaking shit and burning things down and stuff like that. And there's multiple videos and photos of him doing that stuff where he's giving people aid. Hell, there's a famous video out there right now, still to this day, of him walking around and be like, hey, does anybody need aid? I'm a certified paramedic, here's what it is. And had his little bag and stuff, which is kind of funny because actually the bag he took out there to that was full of like random, gauze and everything else like that for paramedic stuff as it was, is the exact same Ozark Trail bag that I actually have in the bedroom right now. So, yeah, I thought that was kind of funny, actually. Which is like a $10 bag, basically, or something like that is what it is. So, it's not like a big thing or whatever, but it's just funny, I thought, though. So, anyway, but yeah, so basically going back to the whole thing, though, you had, like I said, Rittenhouse was there doing that stuff. He was giving people aid and stuff. He was also helping protect the business, what it was that night. And then from there, you basically had, according to the woman there who took the stand in the trial, she was talking about that piece of shit Rosenbaum and how Rosenbaum was out there basically talking about cutting their fucking throats and shit, dude. And just being a fucking psychotic lunatic is what it was, basically, which, mind you, nobody knew this at the time, but it came out after the fact, obviously, that Joseph Rosenbaum, the first guy that Kyle shot in self-defense, because he was literally trying to lunge for Kyle's rifle, which that's according to the eyewitness testimony of Richie McGinnis, the guy from Daily Caller, where you had this fucking psychopath who should have never been let back out of prison at all, for that matter, because Rosenbaum himself, being a crazy ass white ginger dude is what it was, this motherfucker had molested 5 young boys between the ages of 9 and 11 years old in a different state is what it was. I mean, it was like Utah or something like that. And it's like, yet he was let back up by our justice system, dude. And again, it goes back to show what kind of fucking failed justice system we have in this country, where you're going to let a guy who not only was a violent fucking child molester of a bunch of fucking pedophiles, child molester of a bunch of little kids is what it was. He was also a violent nut job in general, because when you look into his past after that, when he was in the prison system then, he was fucking fighting a bunch of people in the prison system then, dude. And it could be that they were trying to kill his ass because he was a fucking child molester. Yeah, they were weaker than he was, obviously. But yeah, and then let him back out of our, nation prison system is what it is there. So, and it's like, this is the exact kind of person that doesn't need to be let out ever again, dude. Like, seriously. Like, how are you going to let this motherfucker walk after that kind of stuff, bro? It just blows me away, man. It really does. It just, It just irks me to my core, honestly, at some point, dude. But anyway. So yeah, so you had that obviously being a thing. So you had Rosenbaum attack Rittenhouse, then is what it was. And then from there, you then, and mind you, the only reason that you had Kyle even turn around then is because there was another shocker convicted felon there that night named Joshua Zeminski, who was using the alias of Alexander Blaine. Zeminski himself had an actual criminal record as part of a Blue West Motorcycle Club in Las Vegas, if I'm not mistaken there. And he was illegally carrying, I believe it was a .380 pistol that he pulled out of his hoodie pocket there and then fired off a round, which is what alerted Kyle Rittenhouse to the situation entirely. And then, of course, when you actually look at the video footage there, the whole how it went down and stuff like that, you then hear a bunch of other shots in the background. And apparently that was another guy that also got charged with, like, discharging a firearm within city limits or something like that. That's what it was. Because that dude was just some random guy there that night who thought people were shooting at him and then proceeded to basically, like, start popping off rounds, is what it was then. So he has nothing to do with the actual Rittenhouse situation at all then, is what it is. It just happened to be some random dude is what it was then. But the entire point of the matter is, though, is that you had this guy who was Zeminski, who basically fired off the first round, started the whole thing is what it was. You had Rosenbaum trying to grab Rittenhouse's rifle, get, popped a bunch of times in self-defense. You had this other guy fire a few rounds in the background who had nothing to do with the original situation at all there. And then you had Zeminski and his wife, who were both standing there, who, at that point, when you see Kyle, like, trying to go this way out of the car lot, there was a bunch of Antifa and BLM terrorist mob forming there is what it was. And then that's why he ran the other way. He had fucking Zeminski and his wife be like, "Oh, go get that guy." And I don't know if it was them or somebody else that was like cranium that boy is what it was. I think it was somebody else actually. And then that's where the famous one of him like running down the quote unquote Kenosha Mile happened is what it was there, where he's like running down the street, somebody knocks his hat off and stuff like that, and then got Jump Kick Man trying to come in there and fucking kick him in the face and shit like that, and get a couple of rounds popped off of him. Obviously, neither one of them hit his ass. Even though both probably should have is what it is. But yeah, and thing is, even on the trial and stuff, like Binger, the prosecutor guy, even knew that fucking dude, who that guy was, who they call it Jump Kick Man, the entire time, and they cut that piece of shit a plea deal. What's even more fucked up to me, by the way, is how every single criminal in the situation, which, mind you, everybody that was trying to kill Kyle that night was all convicted felons, is what it was, dude. You had every single one of these pieces of shit basically be cut plea deals that were still alive. So you have this scumbag ass DA, Thomas Binger, cutting the worst of society plea deals that included Joshua Zeminski, Zeminski's wife, that included, I think she was, I don't know if she was technically convicted felon or not, but she was definitely, with somebody who was, is what it is there. So she was actually committing felonies that night is what it is. So she's technically guilty by association kind of thing is what it is then. And then obviously accessory after the fact is what it would be then. Plus she was also calling for Rittenhouse's murder that night too. So that's obviously, potentially could be a charge is what it is too for that matter. So yeah, you had her basically being a piece of shit in general there. You had, like I said, Zeminski himself being a complete piece of shit is what it is. And then you had Rosenbaum, who was, killed in self-defense. You had Anthony Huber, who was trying to beat Kyle's fucking head in with a skateboard, and then proceeded to literally grab the end of his fucking rifle and pull it towards himself, which, of course, that couldn't be considered like, him killing himself that night, even though it technically was him killing himself that night with the gun. Because him doing that action is what pulled Rittenhouse's finger back in the trigger guard and allowed the shot to be fired off. That's what it is. But of course, it was considered, self-defense shooting. There's what it is. And then, pretty much everybody else that got, popped them too. Gage Gross-Kurtz was another one of these people that, tried to then kill Kyle Rittenhouse. Admitting on the fucking stand that he was trying to murder Kyle that night, by the way. That's a given fact right now that we have on that one. Yet he's not in prison right now for that shit. And he's actually trying to sue the city of Kenosha and the state of Wisconsin for a bunch of money for like emotional distress and a bunch of other shit there for that matter. And it's like, bro, how the fuck are you going to sit there and try to do anything like that, dude, when you were literally the fucking aggressor that night and your ass should be in fucking at least state prison, not federal prison, that is what it is. Which, mind you, Gage Gross-Kurtz, piece of shit ass, was also a fucking criminal. So was Anthony Hoover, for that matter. You had Anthony Hoover, who, like I said, pretty much shot himself there, is what it was. He was actually a convicted domestic abuser because he tried to beat the shit out of his grandma and like young siblings, is what it was, or whatever. And then you had Gage Grosskreutz, who was a fucking burglar who had an illegal CCW at the time, was in possession of illegally carrying without a license, and yet was let off the fucking hook on that one. And it's like, so you basically have Kyle, who did every single thing right that night, being the only person there who was not a convicted fucking criminal, who was not an actual felon. So, and yet these people want to sit there and shit talk Kyle Rittenhouse still, and it's like, bro, like, you're obviously, you leftist people are clearly on the wrong side of history. End of story, man. Like, you can't deny that at this point. Like, you're obviously not on the right side of history, and you never will be. When you're cucking for BLM terrorism, when you're cucking for fucking Antifa terrorism, dude, like, you're part of the problem, you're not part of the solution, dude. It's as simple as that, really. And that's exactly what it is at the end of the day. So, and then, of course, you got pieces of shit like Tony Evers, who was the governor at the time and still is, by the way, who denied Trump's request to send like several hundred to several thousand troops to Wisconsin that night to help out with the fucking shit. And that's why Evers himself should be charged after the fact. That's what it is there, dude. And that's what I'm saying. Like, honestly, the worst thing Kyle did was not just open up a shitload of fucking lawsuits against specifically Tony Evers by name as governor of the state of Wisconsin for refusing to protect the city, is what it was there. He should have had a secondary lawsuit against the state of Wisconsin. Should have had a third lawsuit against the city of Kenosha. Should have had a fourth lawsuit against the Kenosha Police Department. Should have had about 4 or 5 other lawsuits against individual cops then from the Kenosha PD, is what it is there, who maced him in the face, etc. and shit. And especially you had that one asshole go on the fucking stand and then sit there and basically laugh about macing Kyle in the face that night. Because if you watch the video when he walked up to the one cop car and the guy, and he like pulls back immediately, there's like, you can see like actual mist of like spray where he like OC sprayed the shit out, is what it is there. So yeah, that fucking cop should never be holding a badge over again in his worthless ass life. And then you had what's the other ones now? Yeah, and then you should have had there should have been a lawsuit from Kyle against Gage Grosskreutz. There should have been a lawsuit from Kyle against the family of Anthony Hoover for emotional distress. There should have been a lawsuit against the family of Joseph Rosenbaum for emotional distress, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, like there should have been like about 50 lawsuits, honestly, from Kyle's side, is what it was there, dude, including about like 5 or 10 against the mainstream media, is what it is there. And I would say at least 50, probably more like a couple hundred, honestly, when it's all said and done. Because you'd have to start suing like individual celebrities and stuff like that too, on top of everything else then for the lawsuit train. But yeah, like the worst thing Kyle ever did was not start filing lawsuits like fucking crazy against these people, dude. That all slandered him, that all defamed him, that all, you know, falsely claimed these certain things happened when they didn't happen at all that way. You know, like I said, to this day, 4 years later, you got people still fucking falsely claiming that Kyle, you know, was driven across state lines with a gun by his mother, even though it's all fucking lies. The gun was bought in Wisconsin, stayed with his friend Dominic Black at Dominic's house in Kenosha area there. You had Dominic was the one that drove Kyle that night. He was also the guy who drove Kyle away from the scene that night so they could get the fuck out of Dodge. They weren't killed that night by the pieces of shit BLM and Antifa terrorists that night, honestly. Then you had trying to think what else now. I'm trying to think like relevance right now for like certain things, like what else is relevant in this case, obviously. Oh yeah. The fact that you had the entire case start because of a dude named Jacob Blake, who himself was also a multi-time felon who was trying to fucking silence witnesses and shit there in Kenosha. That's why the entire thing kicked off, was his shooting, where you had some cops shoot him in the back, is what it was there. Because he was trying to grab for a little knife, as it was there in his car, whatever it was, car SUV, whatever the hell it was. I'm not sure. I can't remember. So, but yeah, he was literally trying to grab for a knife, and that's why he got popped in the back, as it was then. So, like, there's just so much fucked up shit in the situation, dude. And absolutely none of it is Kyle's fault. Like, he was the only person in the right that night, honestly, dude. And you got all these leftists that are all like, oh no, he was totally this and that and this and the other thing too, for that matter. And it's like, no, he wasn't. Y'all are a bunch of liars, dude, for real. Like, we can see right through your bullshit, is what it is, dude. Like, seriously. It's like people think that people don't have the ability to research themselves, man. And they're just going to believe some fucking lie that somebody makes up is what it is. Which, unfortunately, so many people do is what it is in this country. Because they are just like headline news readers, or they are just like fucking, you know, drones and stuff like that. And it's unfortunate, dude, that we have that kind of situation there. But anyway, I'm not one of these people, by the way. I'll actually look into the fucking case myself and make sure that it's done. So, and proceed to present real facts in the case, not these fucking leftist lies that these assholes make up is what it is. So anyway. But, yeah, other than that, though, I think that's pretty much where we're at for the day. Yeah, I've heard about this one, too. I thought that was weird. How Bezos, Zuckerberg, all these other super billionaire people are now selling a bunch of stock and stuff like that. I think they understand that we're very close to a collapse in this country. It's the same exact reason why they're starting to build bunkers and shit like that in different places. Because they're trying to actively have a place to go to and basically hole up in if we actually do have like nuclear war, whatever the case be, or something here in the future. I'm not saying we will, but like I wouldn't be surprised by it, honestly, the way things are popping off right. I mean, hell, would it really put it past anybody in power right now, especially, you know, dementia ass fucking pedophile Biden, to literally start fucking nuclear winter just to maintain power? Because it sure as shit wouldn't surprise me, bro. Would not surprise me in the least. And that's the saddest part right now, is knowing that. Like, that's a scary fact to think about, right? Like, that you have some fucking nut job who would be willing to fucking pull the trigger on a nuclear war, nuclear exchange, just to maintain power. So, yeah, scary, scary situation all the way around. And not a fun time, man, at all. So, anyway. But, yeah, it's a whole thing, man. But, yeah, we have a lot of interesting stuff going on right now. That's what it is. And then you got, like I said, even Kyle's basically asking the question. I actually sent a message back to him on that one, which is basically, yeah, they named you and slandered you because you're a white dude. And they didn't do the same thing to everybody else because they were black, is what it is in the situation. And that's the fact of the fucking case, dude. Mainstream media slander the shit out of you because of your race and refuse to do the same thing to these people because of fucking racial narrative is what it is there. And it's really disgusting in general, dude, because, again, it should not matter what the race of the shooter is, dude. If they're going to shoot a fucking place up, especially a parade for, like, a Super Bowl or, you know, whatever the case be, like, nah, man, they should be named immediately. I don't care if they're fucking 15 or 55, honestly. Everybody should know who the fuck these pieces of shit are, dude. And they should have fucking photos of their asses right then and there is what it is then. Especially when we have videos out there of these pieces of crap who are literally having a fucking, you know, back and forth behind some people on camera. There's what it is before the shooting actually starts then. So, anyway. But, yeah, needless to say, though, it's a bunch of shit all the way around, man. Like I said, I'm personally getting real sick and tired of it. I pretty much had it with the mainstream media in this country entirely. And I think we're definitely in for dark times ahead right now. Do I really think that Honda's going to be Nostradamus type with his, like, end of the month fucking prediction? No, I don't. I think there's definitely going to be some other stuff going on there. I think what's going to happen there, honestly, is you're probably going to have some various stuff happen here and there is what it is. And then it'll most likely end up being something where you have just some like random thing, whatever happened at the end of Black History Month. Here's what it is then. Now, will it be to the extent of like World War III or something like that? No, probably not. Now, granted, I think my prediction of April 8th is a lot more nail on the head thing, especially when I heard here recently about the possibility of like blackouts and stuff from like solar flares and shit. Now, granted, that being said, with Honda's prediction, could there be a solar flare or something that hits like before, March? Maybe. Would it suck if there was? Yes. And I can tell you that firsthand as somebody who experienced the power outage today, actually, and it made me think of like just how truly unsustainable our grid really is what it is, man, and how easily it can be taken down then. It was about 5:30 this morning. There was a guy who, I don't know if he was drunk driving or if he was, there might have been a woman for that matter. I'm not sure if it was a guy, girl, whatever it was, if they were drunk driving in the middle of the morning or if it was them just, getting off of some kind of shift change or whatever the case be and driving home and they were just super tired and lost control behind the wheel or something like that. Or it could have been something too where they just swerved to hit it to avoid hitting a deer and proceeded to just smash into a power pole is what it was though. But yeah, they apparently smashed into a power pole around here. And then from there, you basically had us have a power outage for about 7 hours. That's what it was until it got fixed right before noon this afternoon is what it was then. So I guess it was technically more like 6.5 hours, give or take. But yeah, it was not super bad, but at the same time, it was very, very cold. It still is cold in this house too, by the way, because I've had the heater off for like a couple hours now is what it is. But yeah, it wasn't good though, man. And it really freaked me the fuck out because it's like, if we have that little ability to maintain, warmth, etc. here, like it's not good, man. And I would hate to see that happen if there's going to be some kind of like, collapse of the grid or whatever the case be in this nation. It would suck to have it happen like right during the middle of winter is what it is there. So anyway, but yeah, that being said though, I think that's pretty much where we're at for the day though is what it is. Like I said, I'll be back at some point here. Probably Thursday would be my guess for the Buckshot episode of the day. I don't think I'm going to be back before that. I don't think I will anyway. I mean, I could be. It all depends. But I don't think I will be. It'll probably just be that day for that, and then that's it. About it, give or take. So, but yeah, I don't think I'm going to be back before that happens, though. Obviously, Honda will do his chat tonight. I'll be on that panel for the 2A. And like I said, I might bring this back up again in discussion with him and the other guys then and see what everybody has to say about it. Because I do think it is kind of disgusting to see how these leftists will just sit there and shit talk someone when they don't even have the actual. Like that's the thing, right? If you're going to sit there and shit talk somebody, at least have the facts of the case correct, man. And that's even why I call it that vet guy too, for that matter, dude. Because I was like, yeah, if you're going to like slander somebody, dude, at least have the facts of the case correct. And it was not his mom that drove him to the place; it was his friend Dominic there. So if you're going to shit talk Rittenhouse, at least have the decency to shit talk him properly. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of funny, but yeah, at the same time, that's the one thing I will say to the left, man. If you're gonna sit there and slander somebody or try to slander somebody, like at least have the facts of the case correct, man. Damn. Because if you're not even gonna have that, like, what the fuck you doing, man? Seriously. Come on now. But anyway, but yeah, like I said, we'll be back here at some point in the near future. I will be doing a few different things this coming week. Obviously, we got Buckshot Thursday afternoon. Freedom Friday will be on Friday. We will have a couple different discussions here and there for that. I will make sure to be doing a couple other things too, for that matter, when it comes to 2A this week and different other stuff for that matter. So, yeah, I will be back at some point then for those. And until later, it's been a good one, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a good one, y'all. Stay safe, stay vigilant. Always be carrying. And always make sure to call it the left on their bullshit, because, yes, there are still people that believe that Kyle shot 3 black males that night, even though all 3 of the guys he shot, 2 of which he killed in self-defense, were all ugly-ass white dudes. And it's as simple as that, really. Later, y'all.